Okay, a very good afternoon to all of you. Let's continue with the play that we started the other day. It's 40, page number 40. Page number 40, and I'll just tell you in brief what we did the other day. It's a very interesting play. I hope I'm audible to everyone. Just respond by speaking. Speak up. Okay, so it's a humorous play which portrays the position of the housewife in a family, and basically the main character is Mrs. Annie Pearson, and there are two main characters, Mrs. Fitzgerald and Mrs. Pearson. Mrs. Fitzgerald is the dominating one, and Mrs. Pearson is the one who is very submissive, weak, fragile, and is the one who wants to have a word with her with the members of her family, but because she feels that she is not treated properly, and but she's very hesitant and she's very doubtful of where to start and how to start from, and she's not given any time by the family members. She just takes their orders. She's treated like a servant, and then Mrs. Fitzgerald suggests that they swap the personalities, and because she feels that she's the fortune teller also. She reads cards, and she feels that it is very easy for her to do so. She can just swap the personalities, and then she chants some magical words, and Mrs. Fitzgerald now has the personality of Mrs. Pearson, and Mrs. Pearson now has the personality of Mrs. Fitzgerald. Okay, and then what happens after that? Can anyone just tell me what happens after that, after the swapping of personality? How does Mrs. Pearson, who has the personality of Mrs. Fitzgerald, deal with the members of her family? Raise your hands. Uh, okay, Akarshita. Akarshita, just
What happened is that Miss Pearson is very concerned, but Miss Petzler is very bold and she says that you didn't know where to start. Let me show you how it begins. After switching body, Miss Fitzgerald, who is in the body of Miss Pearson, goes to Miss Pearson's house and she encounters their son and daughter, and she's very mean and bold and rude to them, which even leads crying of her daughter.
first of all, yes, she becomes, after switching off the personality, she becomes very bold, and first of all, she treats her daughter very harshly, and her behavior with her own daughter is very cold and insensitive kind of a behavior. She says that she hasn't made any, she hasn't made any tea for her, and she refuses to iron her yellow dress, which her daughter wants to put on for a date with whom? With Charlie Spence. And then she starts, her daughter sees her mother smoking for the first time, and she's quite surprised, she's quite shocked, and she's quite shocked at the way her mother treats her. It is not what she says, but the way she says. So she, her mother is very indifferent towards her. She refuses to iron her dress, she refuses to do anything for her, and she even goes on to the extent of saying that Charlie Spence is buck-teeth and is half-witted, and she says, and she advises her to find someone better off than Charlie Spence. Okay, and then she's on the verge of crying. She goes away, and then Cyril, who is the son, who enters in, and he also receives the same kind of treatment from his mother. She refuses to be their servant. She revolts against them. She says that I'm not going to, just take your orders just like that. So we were on page number 40. Let's continue from here. And Cyril says, curious, why? What did she do? Doris says, never you mind, because he's asking about the treat, why is Doris crying and what has the mother done? And Doris just rubbishes and says, you don't have to mind about that. And Mrs. Pearson, she just rises up and prepares to move to the kitchen. Have we any stout left? I can't remember. Now, at the middle of the day in the afternoon, right in the afternoon, she's asking about the hard drink, and she wants to have hard drink and says, do we have any stout left in our home? And Cyril responds by saying, bottle or two, I think, but you don't want stout now. He says, why do you need stout at this point of time? I do. What for? To drink. And very coldly and very harshly, she just replies and says, why do I need a stout? What for would I need stout? Just for drinking. You clot. You clot means she just calls him an idiot, a foolish person, and he says, "How stupid of you to ask such a question to me." And Mrs. Pearson just exits right. Instantly, Cyril and Doris are in a huddle. They just uh, heap together and in order to discuss the behavior of their mother. Okay, and they get close together at left center, and rapidly they're whispering to each other's ears because this is the first time that they've seen their mother behave in such a cold and indifferent and callous attitude towards them. Has she been like that with you too? Yes, no tea ready, couldn't care less. Well, I'm glad it's both of us. I thought I had done something wrong. So Doris is happy that the mother is behaving the same way with both of them because you know otherwise she says she had felt that it was Doris who had done something wrong and that is why the mother was behaving in that manner. So did I, but it's her of course. But it's her of course. What does she mean? What does she mean by this? It's her of course. Implying that there is something wrong with the mother, not with them. Am I audible now? Am I audible? He's saying that there is something wrong with the mother, not with them, as just Kaval had very rightly responded. So he says, I'm glad it's both of us, and I thought I done, it's her, of course, means there's something wrong with her. She was smoking and she was playing cards when I came in. I couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't believe when I saw her smoking right in the, I've never seen her smoke like that. And this was the first time that I saw her smoking, and then she was playing cards, and now she's thinking of having stout. I asked her if she was feeling off color, and she said she wasn't. I asked her if she was feeling ill, if she was feeling unwell, and she said that no, she was perfectly fine. Then she's suddenly all different. This is what Doris says, and that's what made me cry. I've never, she's our mother. She's not a third person in the family. Suddenly, she's become so different, and it wasn't what she said. Like I told you, it was not the words that she used, but the way, the way she addressed me, the way she said what she says, and the way she looked at me. That's what made me cry. Haven't noticed that. She looks just the same to me. He says, I've not noticed this kind of a thing, and but she's looking quite the same as she used to look earlier. She doesn't to me. Do you think she could have hit her head or something, and God, what is it, do you mean she's balmy? She's balmy, she's got mad, she's hit her head somewhere, and now she's suddenly turned mad. She's not in her senses. This is what Cyril means. No, you fathead. He says, no, you stupid person. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, concussion. She might have. What do you understand by concussion, bache? What is concussion? What is concussion? What is concussion? Concussion she might have. This is what Doris feels. What is concussion? State of mind is just a kind of injury to your brain. When you have hit yourself somewhere and you've got yourself injured in the head. It's and Cyril says it sounds yes. It says it sounds. He says it sounds far fetched. It sounds highly unlikely. This is not possible. Well, she's far fetched. If you ask me, she's thinking and she's behaving in a very strange manner, and she's actually behaving very strangely. Now then, what is it? If she's going to be like this when dad comes home, Doris says, what would happen if she has this kind of a behavior when our father comes home? Then what would happen? When our father comes home, if she would behave like this, then things would be very different and things would be very, strange. And she starts giggling. And Cyril begins to guffaw. What is guffaw? He begins to laugh very loudly. I'm staying in for that. Two front dress circles for the first one. I'm going to stay in. I'm going to watch what kind of a conversation would both of our parents have when our mother would behave like this in front of the father. Mrs. Pearson enters right, carrying a bottle of stout and a half-filled glass. Cyril and Doris try to stop their guffawing and giggling. Both of them are giggling, both of them are guffawing, they're laughing boisterously, they're laughing very loudly, but they're not quick enough to stop their laughter. And Mrs. Pearson just regards them with contempt. With a look of hatred, she just looks at them and very coldly she says, you two are always talking about being grown up. So she continues with that kind of a harsh treatment of her children, with her children, and she just says that you people say always keep on saying that you people have grown up. Why don't you both try for once to be your age? So she's making fun of them, and she's just satirizing them for laughing without any reason. And she moves to the settee and says, "Can't we laugh now?" This is what Cyril says. Yes, if it is funny, if you find something funny, then you can laugh, but you cannot just keep on laughing without any reason. You know, you never understand our jokes, mom, Doris says. We would tell you, but what we feel is that you never understand our jokes. I was yawning at your jokes before you were born, Doris. What does she mean by this? I was yawning at your jokes before you were born. What does she mean when she says, I was yawning at your jokes before you were born? Yes?
Too old that now she couldn't help but yawn at them.
Yes, yes. She, yes, very good, Akashita. She means to that she's heard such kind of jokes, and now she's bored of such kind of jokes, and she feels drowsy when she listens to such jokes. This is what she feels. And Doris is almost tearful again. So the kind of behavior her mother is having with them that day, that makes her cry. And what's making you talk like this? What have we done? What is at fault? This is what the daughter wants to know. Why are you behaving like this with us? Promptly, Mrs. Pearson says, nothing. You haven't done anything. But what is it that you do every day? You just come in, you ask for something, you go out again, then come back when there's nowhere else to go. This is what you do every day. You march into the house, you give me orders, I fulfill your orders, I prepare things for you, I keep on working like a servant for you people. Then you move out again and then come back when you don't have anywhere else to go. This is what you people do. All of you, the three of you do every day. And aggressively, very, he's angry now. He says, look, if you won't get tea ready, then I'll find something to eat myself. Why not? Help yourself. And she's very calmly, she's sitting on the settee and she's taking a sip of her stout and says, go on, help yourself, prepare anything for yourself. And Cyril just turns on his way to the kitchen. Mind you, I think it's a bit thick. It's a bit thick means it's a bit harsh. I've been working all day. Same here. Doris says, yes, and same with me. We have been working all day. Now, this is the kind of treatment that our own mother is, meeting out with us. 8-hour day? Yes, 8-hour day. And don't forget it. She says, okay, if you have worked your 8 hour today, even I have done my 8 hours. My 8 hours are over. Now, let me enjoy my life. Let me relax for it. That's different. Of course it is. And very calmly, Mrs. Pearson replies, it was different, but now it isn't. 40-hour week for all now. From now onwards, all of us in the household are going to work only for 40 hours a week. Just watch it at the weekend when I have my 2 days off. And I'm just planning and just thinking to have my weekend off also, this weekend. Doris and Cyril exchange alarmed glances. Then they just stare at Mrs. Pearson, who returns their look very calmly, very coldly, without any emotions. Okay, and Cyril says, I must grab something to eat. Look as if I need to keep my strength. I'm feeling dizzy. I'm feeling I'm going to get fainted. I need to keep my strength up and I need to eat something for that. And he just exits to the kitchen. And Doris moves to the settee, very mummy, you don't mean you're not going to do anything on Saturday and Sunday. She's very much worried now. She says, mother is not going to do anything on the weekend. What shall we do? And very airily, very calmly, very coolly, the mother responds, no, I wouldn't go that far. I might make a bed or two or do a bit of cooking as a favor, which means, of course, I'll have to be asked very nicely and thanked for everything and generally made a fuss of. So what I want you people to do, if you want me to do anything for you, you need to first of all request me, and after I have done that thing, you need to thank me for what I have done. But any of you 40-hour a weekers, you keep on just stressing on this point that we work 8 hours a day, 8 hours a day, that means 40 hours a week, and you get your weekends off. Any of you 40-hour a weekers who expect to be waited on hand and foot on Saturday and Sunday with no thanks for it are in for a nasty disappointment. I might go off for the weekend perhaps. What does she mean by this line? Any of you who expect to be waited on hand and foot on Saturday and Sunday and no, with no thanks for it are in for a nasty disappointment. What do you mean by this? What does the mother, Mrs. Pearson, mean by this statement? Any of them who will try to order her around with no thank you will not get anything. Yes, just Kamal, you're very right. Any of those three people, Cyril, Doris, and even her husband, if they order her to do anything and they want her to be just 24/7 to be at their service and they don't thank her for the things that she does for them, then she will not do anything for them and she will not be treated, no more be treated like a servant in the household. And she says that I might go off for the weekend, perhaps. I might take my weekend off and might go somewhere. And Doris is terrified at these words. This go off for the weekend because never in her life has she seen her mother go off like that. Why not? I could do with a change. Stuck here day after day, week after week. If I don't need a change, who does? It is me in the family who needs a change desperately. This is what the mother says. I need a change, not you people, because you people keep on enjoying yourselves, you keep on entertaining yourselves, you people just keep on minding your own businesses. So it is me who needs a change, and if for a change I decide that I might go off for the weekend, then it will suit you and it will suit me definitely. But where would you go and who would you go with? Says that's none of your business, Mrs. Pearson responds. That's my business. You don't ask me where you should go and who you should go with, do you? मुझसे कभी परमिशन लेते हो जाने से पहले कि किसके साथ जा रहे हो, क्यों जा रहे हो और कहाँ जा रहे हो? You never ask me. So why should I ask you? That's different. And the mother says the only difference is that I am a bit older and better able to look after myself. So it's you who should do the asking. Says I am the one who's more experienced in life. I am your mother. You are not my parents.